Hello, everybody. Welcome to my analysis of the Saga block. Chris Nirvana Tool here. As you can tell, this might be a pre-recording, but I am still streaming it live. I am in the chat, and I will be talking to you all as you guys rip apart my analysis of the Saga block. So as everybody knows, starting off the new year of online tournaments, we're going to be taking a trip down memory lane for the next few months. Starting with January, we will have the Saga block. So what exactly is a Saga block? Well, that's all. The card pool is going to be all cards from the very first set, Saga the Storm, released in 2001, all the way up to Southern Kingdoms. Now, Southern Kingdoms was kind of buffer set. It was the first set that was bugged for campaign edition cards, but it was still legal for the first bit of Saga before they officially transitioned into the campaign edition. That way, when the campaign edition base set released, you already had a set in the card pool. So that's kind of how they did that. So February will be campaign edition, and it will have Southern Kingdom. So get familiar with Southern Kingdom cards, because that's what we're going to be playing with a lot. It's actually a really good set, one of my all-time favorites. But the thing with this is we really need to kind of take a look at this set way different than we're used to with our traditional ancients or even some of these more fun formats. So the first thing that we really need to kind of touch on before we even start diving, I know you guys can already see on my screen, I already have some of these cards up, but try to pay attention to me and less about the cards. We're going to go into them in a second. But what I will say here is there is no restricted or banned list. Like we're used to with our traditional ancients, it's just if these cards were in this pool, they are legal. You can run 3 Tauren Yeskar. Children of Yeskar is a card that you can play. Archer Tower can start in play. There are a lot of cards that we're used to being handcuffed that gloves are off. You can go now. Now, they might not be as powerful as you remember because now they're being played inside this bubble with only these first few sets. But it's going to be an interesting experiment. I think the person who can kind of find a way to exploit that and the fact that that handcuff kind of got lifted could very well win this event. But it's going to feel like a very different game, I would say. And before I even get a little bit further into this, I do want to stress one very, very important note here. I am not infallible. I make mistakes, as you all have seen me playing my games here. You've seen me just mess up and completely punt and lose a game because I did something stupid. I like to think I'm good, but I'm not perfect. So when I break down these cards, and this is my opinion of where I think the set is, mind you, I haven't played this block of cards in well over a decade. Probably longer than that. Oh my God, I don't even remember how long it's been. So I'm trying to remember what the card pool was like when it was just Saga through Southern Kingdoms and what the heck else was going on. But then, even then, it's still not the same because we're playing with the newer MRPs, the most recent printings of it. So if a card was reprinted in 4th edition that was in this block, we're using that. It actually affects some Warlords and actually makes them stronger in this. So we'll get into that as we go. But understand that this is just my impression. When I took a look at the card pool, I started kind of going through, seeing who are the possible Warlords, what kind of builds they have, what support do they have with each individual faction, is there any kind of cool archetypes that I already discovered? I didn't really dive into anything new, or you're not going to really find anything kind of crazy. I might, you know what, I'm going to take that back. You probably will find something crazy. But the thing is, if I say something and you think it's crazy, or you think I'm just flat out wrong, that's cool. That's awesome. Like, you're not wrong. I would love for you to go into this January tournament and prove the things that I have here wrong. It would be awesome to watch, and you would have nobody rooting harder for you than me. Because at the end of the day, Warlord's fun. So if you see some of these Warlords in here that I have at the very, very bottom, and you kick ass with it, I will personally applaud you on this channel. Absolutely. I will do a dedicated video just to you. I will break down your deck. I will have you come on and talk about it because you know what? You deserve to be applauded because it was awesome. So with that said, let's kind of get into it. And I'm going to tell you what I did for this analysis. I think the biggest thing that we're going to notice in this block is what happens when you take away these typical starting armies that we're used to. A lot of these staples for many of these factions just aren't there yet. Saga was notorious for that. It just had some factions completely lacked a solid starter, or the starter that they kind of had is very subpar to current standards. Over time, we've kind of fixed that. So when you look at the whole history of the game, you look at Ancients, every faction has multiple solid starting armies. But you might be struggling a little bit here, depending on what faction you're going to turn to and what warlord you're going to turn to. So that is going to be a big thing. So I'm not only going to break down the warlords, I'm going to break down some potential starting armies and not necessarily starting armies, but like the characters, like level 1 and 2 characters that are potential starters. The other first impression of this, well, I guess this would be the second because that's the first impression. I really think cavalry decks and traditional dragon drop decks have a place here. Now, when I say traditional dragon drop, I don't mean what we've been seeing in Ancients, where here comes Alisara playing Dragon Lords into play, and then here comes Supremus, or Surge helping you cheat things in after rolling initiative so many times. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking, all right, level 4 character, level 5 character, Blackwind, Ashrain, into play, Bachbal them up, things like that. That's what we're going to see, because that was one of the early success decks, Belial Dragons. I really think Belial Dragons is also viable here. And you'll see that when I kind of get to that. But I really think that, and cavalry decks have really suffered in current Ancient format just because they're not really fast. Here in this format, they were the cream of the crop. Like warlords like General Lund were able to very much compete by just playing, here's a solid level 4 character, here's some steeds, they're running them up to the front, and they're attacking. There were Blitz warlords for sure, and you will see a lot of Blitz warlords kind of listed here, but the cavalry was just also very consistent. For a lot of these Blitz warlords to kind of chew through them, it was missing a lot of the toys. So I think we'll see a slower meta in general, but of course, the biggest question we go see is what happens when we remove this restricted and banned list. I don't have an answer to that. I think we'll have an answer to that until February, but it'll be great to see. So I'm going to break down each of these warlords now, and well, not really each. I'm going to go one by one on each warlord. I'll touch on a lot of them, but I'm not going to do. There's 13 warlords for each faction, so I'm not going to necessarily go through each one line by line and tell you why they're good. A lot of these, many of us already know, but I am going to try and explain a little bit of why I think they fit into where I label them in. So based on the labels I have right now, I put warlords into kind of 3 tiers. And I didn't want to say like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. That's just boring. So I went with the theme that we kind of had a little bit, but didn't alter it a little bit. We had Good, Bad, the Ugly as a previous tournament here for our online tournaments. There, Good and Bad was more about alignment. But here I'm kind of doing it as, here is the cream of the crop is good. Here are the middle tier warlords that, they can win. They absolutely can. They're winnable, but they're missing some kind of power level where there's just something that kind of makes you think, well, why don't I just run this person instead? There really needs to be something that kind of entices them to go from bad to good. But if you win with them, like that's not too shocking. It's applaudable, but not super surprising as if you were playing an ugly warlord, which we are just using the literal definition of. Any warlord that I have listed on ugly is it's good. It's going to be a struggle. It's essentially playing this tournament on hard mode, which if you do it again, more power to you. But a lot of these warlords are they're just outshined completely. They just were poorly designed, or they just they don't have enough support yet, and they don't get the support until later sets. Later, you'll see a lot of surprising ones in here too, where you're thinking like, oh wait, this guy should be good, but they just didn't have the toys that they needed yet. So we're going to start with the Deverinians, which is very fitting, considering that for December's Ancients, I had won that event. Thank you. You can watch those videos on my VOD, but I won it with Sir Rollin, who I have listed as the first good warlord here. Now, again, these warlords are just by tiers. They're not in order, so I'm not saying Sir Rollin is the best ev, though I think he is. But Jordan Drack isn't like the worst of the best. Like I don't have them in order of where I think they are good. It's just if you were good, I kind of threw you up there. If you were bad, I threw you there. And ugly, I just threw you there. So Sir Rollin is going to lose some kind of. I mean, you can take a look at the breakdown of the deck list that I ran for Ancients. A lot of that is still legal. And it actually gets stronger because now it can run multiple Archer Towers. I was running one. Of course, the army doesn't get bonuses from these range strikes, but he does, which is big. The biggest thing that he loses really is he loses the starting army of Acolyte Dora and Deveranian Courtier, but they do have suitable replacements. So he's not as ridiculously strong, but he still has a lot of the same strategy and a lot of similar toys. He loses the Cartwright set, and in addition, you got to find things like Wyvern Sting Bow or some other kind of bow to kind of give him some shots. But either way, he's just a good General Warlord who still has Assassin's Arrows, which is very big. So for that reason, I do think Sir Rollin is a good Warlord. The next one I have is Lord Kestrel. I like his versatility. His ability to give a stat bonus to that is huge, especially in this limited card pool. The Illusionist trait allows him to also kind of build a defensive mass elucidation deck, or you can also just kind of tailor it to a blitz deck with like Abdal Jalars, and Isidran Warrior can't come in the rank 1, but you can do kind of cool things like that with Lord Kestrel and almost blitz it. It will be not as reliable as it kind of was. I run a deck like that in Campaign Edition, and so that's why I could be remembering. But just, again, the stat bonus ability really makes him the Wizard Warlord next to Azran the Foul, who is also I have as good just because of the Necromancer trait. His ability also allows for drag and drop decks, naturally giving you a 4th rank and able to go 5, 6, 7. Turn 1 is huge. And then or you can just go massive fat Deveranian characters and just have them keep coming. So it'll be a little bit of a slower deck. But as a wizard, he does have a lot of toys as well, just similar to Lord Kestrel. So I have those as the top 2 wizards. You'll see some of these wizards down here below. They just, they don't have the abilities that Azran and Lord Kestrel have, just outshine them. And that's why they're there. And they also have additional traits as well. The last 2 that I have under good is Sakaar. Sakaar is actually, I put him here as a dev warlord. He's also technically a mercenary, but for all intents and purposes, because of his card border, we're going to call him a dev. The ability to start an item here is there's so many possibilities you can go with. And the possibilities you would choose in a traditional Ancients format now are still there. You can, one of the decks I had was a portable hole, so you can just start with him going right to the front and going. Another alternative that you can do here is starting Angel's Tears, which says discard a card to a +1 range strike. And just there's no limit to how many times you can do that per turn. I believe there is a Sakaar deck which can start Archer Tower as its rank 2 guys, so you can go double Archer Tower, Sakaar. First action, spend up. Start pitching Children of Yeskar and start returning them to hand, and you can just keep machine gunning +7 range strikes constantly, along with any other support. And just generally, his ability to allow you to kind of bring in any good character without loyalty penalty gives him a lot of versatility in this smaller card pool. He has access to other characters that they usually don't, and he can still play the evil ones as well if they're really worth it. He can play Dedalia and be a 4th rank character, comes in stunned upside down, but he still gets the card out of it. So for things like that, and also there could be a Vorpal Assassination build with him. There is a lot that you can do here, and for that potential, I have him listed as a good warlord. And then Jordan Drack, he is especially good just, again, because of his level, which has always kind of set him apart. He's able to go Uber, and he's able to kind of go Cavalry as well. But I do remember he's one of the last warlords kind of released in this block when it originally first came, and he was also one of the most popular. Still remains one of the most popular today. And he's just as good, even without the newer items that kind of buff them up. But he still has access to a card called Pit Fight, which just lets you just dominate with him because he is so much higher he can pit fight anybody. So let me see if I can kind of pull up that card. for you. Just I didn't really have it on here as as part of this thing. I wasn't going to break down actions and items or non-starter characters, but I do have the Accord lands here ready to go for this exact reason. So I will show you what Pit Fight does. So level 2 fighter action spend order. Target a lower level character up to 3 ranks away to perform an attack without spending, with all melee strikes targeting that character. After the attack, if the target is still in play, he or she may perform an attack without spending, with all melee strikes targeting that character. So he can just perform an attack from 3 ranks away. So there are decks, Pit Fight decks, where you can just, here's Bracers, here's Bracers of Ogre Power, here's a King's Lady, Pit Fight your Warlord dead. Just something he could easily do. So for that reason, I do think that it is a top tier Warlord for sure. Now let's look at the bad. I have a lot of just interesting builds here in the bad. Duchess Brimmen being the fighter guild master. That's why she's there. She's a good cavalry and you can kind of mix up, but even in the original days, she never really shined. She was one of the first warlords I played, and the deck that so I have personal affection for that, and that might be why I have her bad and not ugly. But just in general, cavalry warlord, she can be very good, and with access to the other factions, you can get a pretty cool blend going there. Her ability is card draw. I'll bet a lot harder to kind of pull off, but it's still worthy of noting. So I have her mid-tier. If you pulled off a cool build with her, I'd be impressed. But I'm totally shocked. She's pretty cool. Lord Gahid Relian, again, he is a cavalry warlord at heart, and he was one of the first out. That's why he has such a vanilla ability of rolling 2 dice for initiative. There are other ways to win initiative, though. So when you kind of look at that and you look at what he has and that he brings to the table, he's just missing stuff. Like he needed something else kind of do it, because it's like you can literally just run Jodin Drak and start an Inquisitor Cronius as your level 1 to win initiative every turn until that Cronius dies. But there isn't a lot of cards where initiative is important. So it is his ability. It leaves a lot to be desired. Sorcerer Shagit Grain is probably the best that I have here under the bad. Or tier 2. She has being a fighter wizard gives her access to a lot of cool things, but she is a front ranker, so she is very vulnerable and only has 1 inherent strike. Takes a little bit to get her work, but when she does work, she is one of the coolest warlords. So really like this. She's probably, again, she's the best of the bad, I would say. She can do cool things with Blink. I think Mystic Strike might have been in Southern Kingdoms, if I'm not mistaken. So there's some cool things she can kind of do with that. And, let's see. Mystic Strike was Southern Kingdoms, yes. So lets her get a huge bonus and get an extra strike just for casting a spell. So there's a lot of cool things you can kind of do with her. Burning Hands, I believe, is also one. Just will take a lot to work with. But if you're looking for a cool dev to play, Sorcerer's Chagrin is the one to look at. And then Slayer the Unkind, having an awesome name like Slayer, being one of the iconic images of the game. He's really cool, but just 11 AC, 3 HP. He has a 10 skill, which is cool. Killing a character to stand. Devs don't really have any kind of synergy with killing their own characters to do this, though. So that really just doesn't make his stand ability there. But you could theoretically make a blitz deck with Slayer and do multiple Chain Lightnings, multiple spend orders to be aggressive. And I think that's probably where a Slayer build would be, but it's just not there. For that, he gets the middle of the pack. Now let's look at the ugly. Starting off, Modred of Caracas. I have never seen a decent deck with this warlord. Even when he was first released in such a small card pool, he just doesn't really do much with planner creatures to just boost his stats. That doesn't really help anything he's doing. He's a level 5 cleric, so inherently he's good, but he's just, as a planner warlord, he doesn't really have an ability to kind of leverage it. So he's pretty terrible. Master Istaloth, he's also just, again, he's never shined. He's a necromancer, so he has a lot of cool traits that he can kind of go with. And the ability to kind of make everything smaller kind of lends him to the Blitz archetype, but then Slayer, I think, just kind of does it better. He's also super frail. So he's just, but his ugly rating is more based off of historical rating. You've never seen a Master Isoloth Death be successful. So I would be shocked if he was again. Sir Ron, just the fear save and the paladin trait just isn't enough. He is your dev paladin if you ever wanted to kind of go that way, but that's really the only reason you'd really ever have to play him. And then Erebus Stormchild becomes super awesome later on. I think he's fantastic, and he has a lot of tricks to kind of get him multiple strikes, but right now he really doesn't have it. His multiple strikes just aren't really there. So he's super, super frail, but his ability's great, but everything else around it just wasn't there. So for that reason, he gets the ugly tag. But yeah, so that would be the Devilring Warlords. Let's take a look at the starters. So we have at the top rank, we have level 1s, and bottom we have level 2s. So we wanted to kind of take a look at, for here, I didn't necessarily build actual starting armies. I'll talk to that a little bit. But mostly what I wanted to do is just who are the characters that when you see them in there, that, oh, this is absolutely can be considered a starter. That's what I wanted to look at. And some of these are a stretch. I can kind of just have them in there because I just remember them being as a starter back in the day. So starting off, Shield Wall Knight, 15 AC is reason why he's up here. You'll attack with him, and when you hit, it feels really good. But someone like Sir Rollin can really leverage Shield Wall Knight because it gives him the ability to have a meaningful strike, a +1 range strike. When backed with, he has +1 skill, he's got 1 HP, but 15 AC. It's the highest that you really have going on in a level 1 character that has 1 HP especially. But he is one of the top for a defensive, if you will. But other than that, you have Abd al-Hakim, who has stealth. Now, when he was first released, stealth didn't have the same rules as it did. The ability to cancel a strike once per turn in your army did not come until after this guy was printed. So, mind you need a 16 or better to pass his stealth check. The fact it's there and the innate planner protection makes this guy really worth considering. So he's like a 50-50 miss, but he has a +1 strike. So, and stealth, where if you just roll really good, you stop. His ability could come in handy later, like late game, if you have a opposing front rank Warlord or just a pesky item in the front rank. But you probably will never use it. But it's there if you get it. Squire Aragon, not usually one you start, but that's like a game 2 starter. If you start seeing one of the iconic starter Brine Fiend come out, then you might switch out to Squire Aragon and have them do 2 wounds against these 2 HP starters. So that's something to consider just for that. Otherwise, the stats aren't really that impressive. The additional wound is you have this aggressive option with devs if you need it. And then Baldwin Troubadour is kind of the middle option. If you don't like the -6 from Shield Wall Knight and you're not Sir Rollin, you can look at just the 13 AC +0. And that's exactly what you get. His Bard trait will probably never come in handy, but it's there. So because of that, like 13 AC was good for a level 1 starter back then. So you kind of want to consider that. Things get a little bit more interesting in level 2s. Starting with Storm Shadow, who also has stealth. You can build a Storm Shadow deck out of Lord Kestrel. Have Storm Shadow go hunt down their opposing Warlord and just one-shot them. But even if you don't do that, it's a planner character with innate stealth that has +11 to it. So it's a very good card. 1 HP, of course. As long as you don't see any kind of spell slinger, you should be good. But worth considered starting, and it's also worth considering an archetype around it. But it might not be, it's not the starter for everybody. Usually you either want to go for a 2 HP starter like Lady Malagranz, who that is the only reason why she's here. She has 2 HP. She keeps your second rank secure. Or you got to look at some range strikers like Kane the Hunter and Carrick. Carrick has the ability to it's probably the ideal one. His innate +2 range strike is great, but then the fact that he can extend by stunning and going to rank 2 could open up the windows to kind of put pressure on the Warlord. Like if you have 2 of these and you can take out their level 2 starters, that can completely mess up their game, especially in a cavalry heavy meta like I was kind of suggesting that we'll see. So Carrack is probably the go-to I would start if you're going to go for an aggressive one. But King Hunter is also pretty cool just because he has the order to move up. So he accomplishes a very similar thing to Carrack, but smaller attack bonus, and you require the order to go up. That could be more beneficial to you in a tempo section, but if you have to go kind of fast, then Carrack's the one you want to go with. And then Lord Anguissant is nothing really special. He has the order to do a melee strike, so he could get multiple strikes if you're gonna, get some kind of bonus on him, like say with like Lord Kestrel or so. But he's there where if your ranks are gonna fall apart, like if you're gonna start Baldwin Troubadours, or you're going to go Abdel Hakim, and they take out 2 of them right off the bat, Lord Anguissant can fall forward, and your next action can be, here's a melee strike with him. So that's just something to consider. Probably the bottom of the potential starters, but he's there. And of course, there are other characters that might kind of fit the bill. Really depends on what you're going with. Like you might want to start a Dev Illusionist in rank 2 if you kind of want to improve the visibility or anything like that. So, those are kind of things you really need to consider. That they're super niche, and I didn't really want to kind of put them there. Only the real notable niche ones I want. But if you have a level 2 illusionist in this format, because of improved invisibility, which I will pull up now, it's absolutely worth considering. Especially when you have an illusionist like Lord Kestrel as a Warlord option in Deveranians. So improved invisibility basically says until the end of your next turn after you cast it, a character gains stealth, but that doesn't really matter. They just kind of sit there and can't be targeted. So it's literally just if you're building up to some kind of combo, if you're trying to build up to get an army that's super massive, you should have 3 of this in your deck. And it will be super annoying for sure. But let's go back. That's enough talk of Deveranians. Talked about them enough. So we go to the very next one, the next in alphabetical order. That'll be the dwarves. So what we have here is no surprise. Is the first person who's up and good. King Zod, the original OG of the dwarven faction. He's still good now. He was still good then. There were a lot of answers to kind of put him in his place a little bit. So he doesn't have as many of the cool items he can, and I think he misses a lot of the protection of the items. So because of that, he is a little bit more fragile. Like for example, supply doesn't come until Death's Bargain. And that really hurts. Supply is one of the things that just kind of saved them. Things like Locked Ring just weren't there. So your items, to any kind of item destruction, you're very vulnerable as Zod. And that's the only reason why he's not the obvious go-to number 1 character. He's probably the best dwarf, but he has a lot of flaws in this smaller card pool. So just something to consider if you're going to go that route. Garn Hearthstone is probably the best of the dwarven clerics. If you're going to go gargoyles, you might want to consider Biok Adipati or Shonagard, but I don't think Shonagard's there. I think Narwhal is probably just better. But that's, again, if you're going to go sub-theme there. But general theme, Garn Hearthstone all the way. And his innate healing ability to move wounds around cannot be understated. It's really good. The interesting picks I have up here for good are Gessamy Steel Shard and Adiakar. So Adi is simple. Adi's up here because it's giving aggression to the dwarves, which is not what a lot of the other ones do. Dwarves in general aren't aggressive, but Adi, right out of the gate, had a pretty good aggressive build, starting with War Talon War, and just going right at your army really fast and just completely trucking you, something the dwarves didn't usually do. A lot of cool things. There's still a lot of decent dwarven barbarians. So I think he has a lot of potential here. And I remember him being a really good solid option. He's a bit glass cannony, which is a little weird because the dwarves have innate defense, but being a barbarian, he's balls to the wall and just goes for it. So I'd like to see a lot of cool builds out of Adi for that one. But Gessamy Steel Shard is really, I'd say, the surprise, because back in Saga, probably would have been an ugly Warlord. It was just a generic fighter rogue. That was it. Well, when she got reprinted in 4th edition, she got a lot more abilities. She does additional wounds against monsters, which there are a lot of monsters in this block. And when you heal her, she does an additional melee strike, so you can chainsaw with her. I think that kind of puts her over the edge. So this is something I haven't tested. I'm not 100% sure, but I do think this ability probably puts her into a very competitive Warlord. May not be good. She might be under the bad section, but I really do think there's a good build with her. Curious to see and curious to explore it, see how that goes. Those are the good dwarves. Bad, Biocatapari and Naro Yaw I've kind of mentioned. So if you're going to go gargoyle theme, go for that. Gargoyles still kind of struggled back then. There's still a lot of cool things you could do. And again, you could win your matches 1-0. And that's very possible with them. But it's just, because there wasn't the history of success, and because I think Garn's ability just overshadows them, kind of put them in tier 2. Valhalla Abyssbane, again, it kind of does multiple things that other warlords do in this faction, just not as good. He is also your option for Uber. He's your option if you want some kind of cleric bonuses in there. He can do front rank fighting, but then you got Zod. So he does everything that you could have previously, you can do with another warlord, just not as good. So if there's a really good reason to splash, you might be able to get him to somewhere, but that's about it. Rock Ironbone, being one of the only warlords with 4 HP, is the reason to play him. And his ability of just wounding to get that innate extra wounding could be huge, especially in a cavalry format. But he is at risk because he has to go to the front rank to kind of do this. And you have to build him up to get him up there and then have a nice supporting cast around him. But he's also just cool. He's one of my personal favorites. I couldn't put him under ugly. But he hasn't historically shined either. But I really like him, so he's there. And Frost is there too. Frost can do cool things with critical successes and just splashing wounds around. So it is like a front rank fighter that is all about going aggressive. But he is a little bit vulnerable. So still not bad. Just his ability is great. His stats are pretty good. So he gets the middle of the tier. Now the bottom of the barrel, Gris Iron Fist. There just weren't that many. Like, he's just so super meta. Just to be able to ignore Astro Netheril, doesn't really come into play as much here. Unless your opponent is going like all Astral like that, or all Planner. There's just other better fighters you can go with. That kind of is what Soren, Nihil, and Trench kind of fall into. Soren especially, his stats are awful. That skill +3 is a liability, especially in this format. But he's evil, and he just wasn't good. And Trench's ability can be nice, but he's a cavalry warlord, he's a support warlord, where he's just giving people bonus strikes and making them super defensive. You can win a match with Trench easily going 1-0, but you gotta win that first one. But boosting AC could be good, but it also could be done with Math Blessing. So Garn Hearthstone could just be good. And Stromguard also didn't have the Seer trait, didn't have the bonus to the gargoyles, but lost a lot of the good gargoyles. There's no Nilrim in this in this block. So you may be thinking, a gargoyle build will be awesome. Now, when you lose Nilrim from a dwarf faction like that, they lose so much. That's all I can really. I don't know really how else to kind of put it. It's just he's missing it. He was ugly back then. He's probably still ugly right now. And I'd be shocked if he wasn't. Taking a look at the potential starters, I already kind of mentioned War. What really makes War good is this level 2 right here, him. Just starting 2 hymns and having your front rank get +4/+4 right off the bat after somebody attacking it. It gives it innate defense, and you can actually punish them into aggression. So going War Talon War or War Martyr War as well, backed by hymns, could be really good. Ice is, again, a little bit more sturdiness, just the dwarven sturdiness that you need. 12 AC counts as an additional character for determining a rank, so all three of them got to go before a character in rank 2 would have to fall forward. So because of that, there is that defense there, or you have the original start of Axe, Hammer, Axe. Give themselves innate bonuses. And again, back with him, make them even sturdier. But level 2s, again, him I think does shine the best, but you cannot ignore Will. Spend order, target 2 characters who make DC 11s or stun. That is good now in Ancients. So it'll absolutely be good here. It's sometimes this kind of, you take your action to stun level 1 characters, you basically take them off the board without killing them. Because you don't care. You just need to slow them down, kind of set up whatever dwarven thing you're doing. So if you're not going double him, you should absolutely have a Will in there. If you need more sturdiness in your rank 2, Sledge is the one to go. There's a lot of other like 2 HP level 2 characters like Guardian or Mirth in there. Guardian being the original. But Sledge just does things a lot better. He has higher AC. He has the ability where if you have a dead card in your hand, you can now discard it, ready him, and have him attack. So he has the ability to kind of attack turn 1, which could be good in a defensive fashion. Getting that extra strike on the Jackals that kind of comes up. Second you see a Jackals play, if Sledge is kind of fall forward from early pressure, now Sledge has an option of an attacker that you normally wouldn't have with level 1s if they're already kind of spent out. So that's worthy of consideration as the 2 HP option that you're looking for, even though a level 2 rogue isn't something you're going to really want. And then Wall is, again, still an option here. Just basically make sure that your opponent misses a strike. Sometimes they roll that 20 and it doesn't matter, but it's just still a good ability to this day. So let's go from dwarves. Let's go to the elves. As a traditional elf player, I can clearly say that I have a lot of familiarity here, and that they are probably positioned the best. If as is already now. Historically, whoever has worked at AEG apparently has something in for elves because they just have so many good options. But there is a trap here, so we'll get into that. First of all, Belial is just, since the early days, like Assassin Strike, it's when he came out, so the second set of the game, it's been dominating ever since. The card draw ability, the fact that you can play any cleric of any faction, gives him so much versatility. Card advantage, Mass Blessing, Cure Lethal Wounds, Premonition, Wheel of Fate, Blood Beneath Your Wings. Belial Dragon Drops is real and is an absolute deck that can be played here. So watch out. It will not be like if you put a gun to my head and say pick a warlord that's winning this event, it's Belial. So don't really think this is a shocker to anybody. So yeah, we can just kind of leave it at that. Lord Winter's up there. The Winter Chainsaw with Excessus is still up there. I got to see. I didn't fully dive in to see if he's missing some of the other pieces, like Potion of Invulnerability and a few other things to make sure that he doesn't die. But Invulnerability Potion is from Dominance, so he still has that option to Chainsaw with Excessus. So loses a lot of this other kind of anti-planner protection. I'd say I don't think that's really here, but because of the chainsaw factor, he can just absolutely shoot through just about every single thing. He can kill a dragon in one hit by himself if he has enough attack bonus, which will be what he will need to do in order to kind of compete in that fashion. But Lord of Winter, Chainsaw, definitely a top tier deck. Then we have the Warlord that I have won many games with, Sanguinel. Gives you an innate 6 cards and Scribe, so you carry over a lot of these awesome wizard spells that you're going to have. You don't benefit from a lot of card draw, which is a hefty issue here, because especially that we can run 3 Tauren Yeskar, he can't. So that does hurt, but he still can just absolutely control a game with a bunch of blitzy elves. First turn, he can Gravity Flux to just disrupt your entire army and have you start stunning forward with early pressure. And he can run multiple Archer Towers instead of just the one, making all these little tiny +1 range strikes that you'll come from these elves a lot better. He doesn't get, thankfully, doesn't get Paradigm Shift, so you don't have to worry about Flux Shift, but he can still Chain Lightning, still has Amulet of Force to kind of get things going, Rod of Roaring Flames. He was one of the best back then. He got even better when Paradigm Shift got existed, but he can also run 3 Helm of the Undying, which you're going to have to watch out for. But definitely a top-tier wizard. He's the best wizard blitz here, and a Necro, so he can run Sever the Flesh. Haviland Tanzik, the Benedict train is possible here. Both Benedict and Blood Oath, to basically turn him into an elf and be the one who you're going to just soup him up. That's all here. So you can drop Benedict, Braces of Ogre Power, Blood Oath, start making him big, throw Benedict up there. You can start Magaline to unstun him, and then just start going to town. Multiple strikes, cure lethal wounds to remove everything. He is a bit frail, a little bit squishy, but does lose a lot of the card draw, but it's still there. 3 Torns, makes up for losing Lost Pride. You can still Maddie, you can still Back Alley Tavern. You can still go through a lot of your deck. And so you don't have the Cordios Mirror Magic, Lord Winter thing that killed that actual Medusa Lord, Eliel Darkfeather, because of erratas and stuff like that. But still, the Benedict Super Uber is there. And then speaking of Uber, Morgan Thanos, Uber Lich is also a possibility. It's one that I haven't actually dabbled in myself, but I do know that just putting all the Lich items on Morgan could make him borderline unkillable. And hopefully nobody's mean enough to go that route. I hope we're better than that, because that deck is not fun to play against, and we'll go to time every single game it plays. But it is still a good deck. So that's why it's up there. So looking at the bad Warlords, Lorena Canet and Joel Yu and Wrathy are all just suitable characters. Lorena Canet is the support and can actually, spread around a lot of wizard bonus stuff like that. But it's just boosting the strikes, so she can blitz in that regard. And as a bard, bards didn't really get much support until the later sets. But she can Bardic Knowledge, which is pretty cool. But because of that, again, she's missing a lot of the oomph that all the other... If you're going to go with Blitz, you can go Sanguinal, and it's just much better. If you're going to go support, go Belial, because you're getting an extra card. So because of that, she does kind of unshine. She does shine less. Wrathy was, again, one of the first Warlords. Discard a card, move forward. Wrathy can kind of do some cool stuff with Vorpal Blade and Blacksteel Dagger, and that was an original deck that was just kind of out there, just too fast to see. Gloves of Mischief, but again, just the ability to just discard a card and move forward. There's a lot of cards that you would discard and get bonuses from are just not in this pool yet. It's cool to have Children of Yeskar is unleashed, so you can have your level 2s bringing those back and just from one card have Wrathy kind of come back. But after that, he doesn't really have much going on, but he's not bad. He's pretty cool. Joel Yu is the super sniper. I also kind of want to make sure, forgot to check all of this. I believe Hawk Hatchet is something that is doable. Yep, the Hawk Hatchet came out in Dominance. So Joel Yu with Hawk Hatchet, he is the sniper warlord for elves now. We're a long way from Cavill Rowan or even Audrey. So Joel Yu is the way to go here. You can go Nodwick, Hawk Hatchet around all the other dwarves that just go with range strikes. He himself can extend an extra rank, which is pretty cool. And again, he's just not bad, not great. If he wins, I wouldn't be shocked. But do have to work for it. Now, the ultimate trap in the elves is Raziel, one of the better warlords now. And the thing that everybody is forgetting is that Isidra, the level 2 starter, who I will pull up for you all in a second. Isidra did not come out until Death's Bargain, so it is not an option. Raziel was absolute garbage until this card got printed. The ability to discard a card is the only reason why I have it up there in the top, but the elf starters you'll see are not sturdy enough to kind of support that kind of deck where you're sacrificing your own resources from hand to kind of do it. That's the thing with like Isidra. Like it offset the cost of you discarding to make them discard too. And it doesn't have a lot of the boost that is like, the cards you're putting in the discard also have other kind of benefits and reasoning behind it. Raziel is a trap. He's an absolute trap. You will think he is good because it's just like, oh yeah, I can play Raziel because in the game, that's great. When he was first released, he was one of the worst warlords. So need to kind of keep that in mind. Unfortunately, I guess switching between this does make my slide go back to the start. So that is something for me to kind of remember now. I will try not to pull it up unless I absolutely have to. But Raziel, trap. Be careful. Ugly warlords, they're just missing a lot of things. Teferoth, no real reason to play it. Sanguinel is a better necromancer. Obviously, Teferoth being one of the first warlords, kind of have, she's just missing a lot. The fact that all your elves can kind of play level 1 spells is pretty cool, but what level 1 spells are you really going to want to play? There's just not that many great ones out there. Everyone can play Blast. Everyone can play Curse of Heartless Lies, but it's not that great. She has 12 AC. You could play a Teferoth Fellblow deck, which would be pretty cool. She can equip Braces of Ogre Power, I think, right? I think there's a classless one. So you can do weird things like that and kind of come up with a cool deck there. Adoramus Tay, again, there's probably some kind of cool option there. Discarding cards to level up, being a wizard. I believe he's a wizard cleric, right? I'm trying to see. Sorry, my images are super tiny. So I believe he is a wizard cleric. Yep, is it both a cleric and a wizard? But discarding cards just increase the level. It's like, what out there increasing the level is really worth doing? The Scribe is a great feature, but again, there's another warlord who has that. That's just better. I'd be Sanguinel. Icarus, having 3 classes is the cool gimmick here, but Icarus was just never there. It was kind of there early in CE when the pool got reset the first. Like, he was one of the CE warlords out there. And there was a pretty cool Icarus deck that just ubered up with all the super awesome items in there. I think some of those are in Southern Kingdoms, so that deck could exist, but it's going to be tough winning with Icarus and using his ability to interact with certain items. It just isn't there. And Cullivan, again, is missing a lot of it's a front rank warlord. I think Josh actually just ran it and did fairly successful in the December Ancients, but I think a lot of the toys he was playing with are just not there. I remember this warlord coming out, looking at it and being like, just not playable. Again, it has the unfortunate side effect of being a cleric, the same faction as Belial. You need to have Haviland Tansik in order to kind of compete there, because Haviland has a different strategy. Those being the elf warlords. Now let's look at their potential starters. They're actually a lot better than most, especially because they also benefit from the revised stealth rules. Tyrius, a card that was not a starter back in the day, is now a starter because you can cancel a plus 11 stealth, 12 AC, 0 attack. These are good stats. These are 3 skill, could be huge against stuff like Amadasi's Fire, which is a potential starter for Mercs. So he's probably the best overall starter, because before that, people were starting Jiggerol. Jiggerol, who is also mentioned here, and that's why he's up there, just being the OG character that he is. Being able to put pressure on the second rank was cool. If you have an Archer Tower, you can move that play that Archer Tower, move to rank 1. Those Jiggerols get super scary. He is your generic go-to too as well. But Quadlibet at one point was the definite starter for elves. So much so that they had to errata it, where it cannot receive an AC bonus. So Quadlibet is the level 1 elf that you need to roll exactly what the AC is. So whatever the die roll is, that's how it determines if you hit. So it doesn't matter what your bonus is. You need to roll 10 or better to kill her. Previously, it used to be start 3 quality, let's go double mass blessing. She lives on anything but a 20, and that's how you can go Belial Dragons. Thankfully, they were right at that. So, Tyrius is the go-to because he can kind of benefit from mass blessing with Belial. He can get up to 17 AC, have the ability to stealth something that's scary, and just kind of let one of those other ones go if you want to just play the numbers. Kind of let it happen. The other alternative is a 10 HP start, which is possible in Elves with Wretched Horde and Sicarian Blood Knight, which is a mercenary character, but really is paired well with Wretched Horde. So this is 10 HP. Becomes an elf once you have it starting there. So there aren't really too many other good elven fighters to kind of do it with. So Sicarian Blood Knight is the one you would pair with Wretched Horde if you wanted to do that. Looking at their level 2s, you have I have 3 different options for shooties. Elise has the marksmanship. Artheon has the highest bonus. And Varesha has the ability to spend the targeted hits. All 3 of these are essentially identical stats, just about. So it's worth considering either one, just kind of depending on where you see it going. Artheon, if you're just kind of looking to put super blitz. Elise, if you're expecting that you're going to need the marksmanship to go for an extra wound, or just go for an extra rank. You can go either one. It really depends on how you're feeling. Neither of them is a bad choice. Elamir is there for combo decks and for Haviland, just killing a character. Once it dies, just drawing a card with it. But Mageline is going to be great because, how I said, with a lot of... If you're not going to go Blitz, you're probably going like a support or a cavalry with a lot of big fat dragons or big characters. Mageline helps you get those characters up to the front and ready to go next turn. Just the ability to unstun, and it's worth starting one. Especially being a druid, you can tree walk. So that would be the elves. Elves are in a very good spot for this meta. Moving on to a faction that probably is going to need some help, but it is one that is a fan favorite, so I know you guys can kind of find it. The Free Kingdoms. Now, Free Kingdoms do have some pretty cool warlords. Where they're going to suffer is the very next slide we'll get to, where starting armies are pretty terrible. But Free Kingdoms suffered a lot because Sir Robert the Vigilant, who I have listed as the first good warlord, came out right away in the base set, and just the fact that he was able to be a Super Friends deck and play warlords in rank 4, other warlords just made him insanely crazy. Or just you can do other Free Kingdoms warlords, so you can have like the Super Friends there. The out of faction ones would still come in 1 rank back, but they're coming in 1 rank higher. So it was a reason why Sir Bobby got hit. But his ability to just make your level 4 Free Kingdoms, which again, a lot of those are just a lot of the awesome ones aren't in here, but there's still a lot of good ones. So Sir Bobby being the key cavalry deck for sure. And then you have Adarmi. Adarmi is one of the best decks now. But she loses a lot. Level 1 Free Kingdoms were not that strong. You don't have Spencer Latham. You have Condavel. You don't have Brother Domini. You don't have so many of these extra strike ones. What you will have to kind of do is dig into just other factions too. Because Adarmi does... again, it boosts the stats of... Sorry, just need to kind of check that. She does boost all level 1 characters in her army. So what people were doing when she kind of first came out, she came out in Cold Arms, so she was actually designed by someone in the community, which is really cool. As long as that character doesn't have the monster trait, she can search it out, but you can start in level 2 any of the ambassador characters, which should be the asterisk on all of my starters. If you wanted to do some craziness with the ambassadors that lets you, like Free Kingdoms have like a Dev ambassador or have a Dwarven ambassador where you can play dwarves without loyalty penalty, those are an option, especially for Adarmi. You can go 2 different ones and be able to search out a character of that. If there's one, even if there's one specific character that's kind of worth fueling Adarmi, you can do that. Because then you just sacrifice your rank 2 range strike, which isn't as good as it is in the future. So that kind of Ambassador's Adarmi deck to give her more options in level 1 is how she makes up for losing a lot of Spencers and Dominies and all those other good stuff. But she's still a very, very, very good deck. Logan Ebenwolf was not a good Warlord back when this first started, but when 4E came out and gave him the Scout trait and the ability to shoot range strikes, that completely changed because Captain Dukat was an option as a good Warlord back then. So because of that, they are essentially one and the same. You can go either Logan or you can go Dukat. Dukat's ability, he's more of a we, Logan's more of a me, but you can pull off either one. There's some kind of cool synergy with Dukat, turning spells into range strikes too, but you can just, either one of those with the Scout trait to be able to snipe. They both can play Assassin's Arrow, so definitely look out for that. I've been talking a lot more than I'm used to with these, so I need to take a drink of water. Now my throat is not dry. So let's take a look at the bad. Not too many bad. The freaks are either really good or really freaking terrible. Khan Malik, it was not anything to write home about when he was printed. But again, stealth being revised. He gives all your Rangers stealth. All your Free Kingdoms Ranger stealth. So because of that, there's some really cool stuff you can do. You'll probably never use his ability where you're discarding cards from the opponent's hand, but it's there if you need it. Uriel is the gimmick deck of the Free Kingdoms, I would say. They just go hammer toss and murder your Warlord. It's a glass cannon, but it's super viable. It was the go-to to destroy Overlords back in the day. If you wanted to take out Sir Tython, you can just go Uriel with Redeemer and bop. And then Kendrick is, he's the Monk Mentalist. Actually, I don't know. Is he just Monk? No, he's Monk and Mentalist, yep. He has innate card hate to generate more strikes, but he's a Blitz Warlord. When he first came out, he wasn't considered that great, but he still performed in certain tournaments. So I do think Kendrick is viable. Putting Monkey's Paw on him, getting him up there with Bakbao, he can get up there real fast. And especially, there is going to be a card draw meta here, so his ability will get a lot of mileage out of it. So then we look at the bottom row of pitifulness. Tuamani, still not good. Just the synergy, there's better monster decks out there, so there's just no real reason to play Hot 2. Raylar Magic Bane, it's a meme Warlord. That's basically it's cool. I love it, but it's just like, hey, I roll bad at this game. Let me play this Warlord so my crit fails become crit successes. But that's really the only real reason to kind of play it. The Bard tree is pretty cool, but he's just not really that good. Fronish Kez, I don't really know too much about it. He's just being able to play a whole bunch of different factions could be cool, could be viable, but that aspect of bringing in the other factions to kind of boost himself up, he's still kind of like a front rank rogue warlord, which there could be something there for it, but I don't remember him performing very well. Same with Ravenazan. He's kind of the rogue cleric support, but his later version that gets reprinted in 4E as a promo is much better. This version is just not so much. Tarek Justicebringer was, go ask Chase Causey what you think of Tarek Justicebringer. So I don't even need to talk about it on this. It's just not good. And then Anton was definitely the weakest of the Guildmasters. Getting a bunch of wizards just means you have a bunch of squishy characters. And when you have as bad of potential starters as the Free Kingdoms have, that's what you get. Luckily, he can start other wizards, but even then, it's just not that great. So let's take a look at probably the harshest of the potential starters. It is the Free Kingdoms. So Shelara is probably the go-to starting off. She is from Southern Kingdoms. She has +2 AC against melee strikes, but if your opponent is going range strikes, she's just a 11 AC in tough position. She's got 3 skill, which is good, but that's about it. Kundavil, again, if it's targeted by I believe he's just melee strike. Let me make sure. But Kundavil is a defensive option there, just to make sure if he is being targeted. Yeah, after this character is targeted by a melee strike, cancel a strike. Again, range striking, he's just going to completely collapse. Shamari Jawara is the interesting aspect, but it's not totally defensive. Good characters is basically if you're going to be playing against other good aligned characters, Shamari is awesome because they can't touch him unless they're higher level. So he can give a little bit of that while also having +2 attack and 12 AC, which is just generally good stats, and 3 skill. The issue is if you're also going against other good characters, you can't swing at them. So there's niche there, and he is kind of cool and kind of okay, but not really there. And Sarah Nefion is there for Ducat. Being able to go spend order +4 to the second rank right off the start is where you would start her. Their level 2s are much better, though. Bradley's the man. Bradley's one of the favorite cards. Again, it's kind of how Rayla was the meme warlord. Bradley was a meme card. I'm going to roll ones. Let me put Bradley in my deck so I can re-roll it. I know I'm going right to left, but it's still fine. Borgen Ferris is probably somebody who you don't really hear a lot about as a potential starter, but the ability to just start a level 2 who you're going to have search out a steed and equip to your warlord could be huge, depending on which warlord you're going to go with. He's card advantage. He's a 6 card. Because going to top 10 in warlord, after you have a 44 card deck after starters, and you have 39, assuming you're running the 50 minimum, you're going through 25+% of your deck to find a steed. If you're running at least 9 steeds, you're good. So definitely worth considering there. Angus Hammerfall is the generic starter just because he gives you an innate +2 range strike. And Bakbao is really, really, really good in not only just freaking but for Belial, but any kind of cavalry, higher level character drop, Bakbao is going to be here in the Free Kingdoms. Just the innate ability of Tree Walk, one of the best starters ever printed. Little frail, but just fuels your deck so much faster. So that's really all they got. So they're in trouble. Freaks are definitely in a tough spot. And because of Sir Robert being as stupid as he was when he first came out, it really hurt them from a design space perspective. So we go to the Mercenaries. They have a lot of decent warlords and not a lot. Because again, they weren't really considered a faction. That was kind of a running joke. It's like, oh, what faction you're running Mercenaries? It's like, oh, you don't have a faction. Not a fun joke. Not a cool joke at all. It's dumb. Because now we finally recognize them as a faction. But there's really... I have 3 up here. There's really only 2, I would say. Zartok and General Lund are the best for Mercenaries. Zartok having multiple mass hallucinations out there. It's a really good deck. And you have that defensiveness backed by Dragon Drop. Makes that deck very viable. It's actually really good in CE too. But General Lund is also the cavalry warlord. Being able to stand jackals for free. Stunning all your characters up. Originally back then you were able to kind of play a Magellan in rank 3, stun all of them up and then unstun and then stand with General Lund. He doesn't have Lennox, which was a deck that I ran on a previous event, which does hurt, but he's still got a lot of good just level 4 characters, Valadins, Shadow Reavers, Jackals. You can run 3 Taurens. So there's a lot of good cards there. General Lund is a general good cavalry deck. The other one that might be a little surprised is Yaskar the Elder. Yaskar the Elder was probably the best when Campaign Edition hit. That was when he was like the best warlord. But why he was the best warlord is kind of why I have him as a good warlord now. He can search out for the 1x rock form, equip it, get to the front, put on spider form, and just start going to town and be an aggressive blitz rogue backed by Too Fast to Stay for protection, Out of the Shadows, other cards like that. And he can also run Black Steel Dagger, Assassination, and everything like that. You got to be careful with the way you have lycanthrope items and everything like that. But you can just go rock form and then have Black Steel be the only lycanthrope form. You don't even need spider form. So you can build it rock form up to the front. Here's Black Steel Dagger. Here's all the other cool rogue items. And then just have him be a front rank pressure on there. It does suffer from the cavalry matchup. He's going to have trouble killing a bunch of dragons. But he's still a generally good card. So that's why I don't want to put just 2 really up there. So threw Yeskar up there. Yeskar is really more of a CE Warlord, but he still has a lot of the similar tools in open. So he gets the nod there. Looking at this middle of the pack, Tersoth is pretty cool, but just never really shined in meta. There's not bad, not good. It's kind of like just in the middle. Andalwick really needs some support. When it first came out, that was the chase rare in the pack. Like, oh my god, I want to build an Andalwick deck, but it was just missing a lot. Andalwick can do some cool stuff though. Get Monkey's Paw on it and just run him up to the front, and then this could be good against a bunch of cavalry where you're just stunning up, but you need to find a way to give him more attack. A lot of the monk support, though, does come later on, so he does miss a lot of that. Kerberos was terrible back then, but the fact that he got MRP'd with the additional ability kind of makes him a little bit better. And if I put him as an ugly warlord, Rich Carter would prove me wrong, so I'm just going to skip all that and make him not have to try. Just put Kerberos in the middle of the road, right in the middle of the slide, where he belongs, because he's all about the driver, not the car. But still a solid warlord and cool warlord. Sorsha, very good. The summoner. So a lot of the summoner stuff with I Call for Value, you can do Sorsha Drag and Drop. But the ability to search out for a monster, I believe she still kind of just puts it on top of her deck. So that's the reason why she's not amazing. She doesn't go to the hand like some of the other. Yeah, search your deck for a lower level character with monster trait, show it to the other players, and put it on the top of your deck. So putting it on your top of your deck, you kind of set yourself up, but if it was to hand, then that's it. She's one of the best. But unfortunately, she's not. So Varson Yeskar is the interesting pick here. Varson can go Uber, I think. I'm pretty sure that was there, just going Fighters Guild, Clerics Guild, or Rogues Guild, Clerics Guild, and doing all crazy stuff. I think that was early CE, but that should still be viable, I think. So that's why I have it here. Like, it's one of those ones, like, I remember this card being good. Don't know why. I don't know if it's still good. Let me just be safe and just put it in the middle of the road just in case. And that's why I have Varson there. Bottom of the barrel. I'm going to jump right to Black Tom. Black Tom is a fan favorite. A lot of people love Black Tom. The Rogue Guildmaster, the auto wounding, spending your Warlord to inflict 1 wound on a character is it's such a high cost. So it's one where a lot of the newer players would kind of love that ability where, oh my god, I can auto wound from anywhere. Like, that's so cool. But like, it's just the opportunity cost to kind of do it, and the payoff just isn't really worth it. So Black Tom does. He's getting the ugly rating. He could possibly be a bad, but I put him down there just because I think he is a trap. And then the other 4 are just terrible. Mac and Macabre, there's no reason you'd ever run it over Kerberos other than to do it because the community told you to in a Facebook poll for a Highlander event. Jalik is pretty cool, but just, again, super frail, 11 AC. The ability can be kind of cool, and it is a shaman, but just never shined. Cassandra the Arcane, having multi-class Cleric Wizard, needs a lot of spend orders of opposite. Like, it was just never kind of came together with her. If somebody could pull it together, that'd be cool. I really love that art. It's one of my favorite arts of, like, printed for Warlord. Every time I saw that, I was kind of like, this is a pretty cool Warlord. I'm going to build her. And then it's just, I could never get her to work. So she's bad, or she's ugly. And then Angu Mournwater was a meme Warlord that I built. Like, I did a Spellblitz version of him. His ability is terrible. It's absolutely terrible, but he's an angry dragon. So I ran a deck with him, and every time it won, it was just kind of a shock. But it was just a Spellblitz deck. He's not good. Don't do what I did. So from the Free Kingdoms, when they have the borderline worst starters, the Mercs, I have so many options here. I almost didn't fit the ball in slides. I actually did have to cut a lot of them. So first one on the list, Brian Fiend, no question. Nobody will ever deny Brian Veen as a starter. He is there. He rolls 20s. That's what he does. Amadasi's Fire. The ability to make a DC check could get away around a lot of the mass blessing starters that are there. That was kind of the draw of Amadasi's Fire, because those characters had high AC, but they had low skill. So that's kind of how you got through that. I think you'll see a lot of that being leveraged here. And the fact it's a level 1 wizard kind of gives you a little bit more flexibility too. Like if you want to go blast or anything like that. But they just don't really have a Spell Blitz Warlord to kind of do that with. But Amadasi's Fire, definitely look for that. Nightclaw pairs well with Skincrawler. Depending on the build, of course, it's just, you move Skincrawler up and do some attacks. That synergy's there. Only run Nightclaw if you're going to run Skincrawler. Messiran Trader is the super defensive option, just to cancel strikes. It's really good in Lund if you wanted to kind of just go Cavalry, but you kind of need Brian Fiend just for the early pressure, because this -7 strike is probably not going to do anything. But Messiran Trader, just to avoid a strike, cancel it and move to another thing, and then you can stand them up. So if you're a Lund in General Lund deck, so if you're running Messiran Traders with General Lund, you can secure your ranks with that, unless you're playing against Amadasi's Fire, like I just mentioned. Chosen of Yeskar, you want to start him just so you have him in play the second it comes. He has been errated to where it has to be a higher level character to bring it back. Once he's in the discard pile, spend one of your level 2s and just put him back in your hand. It's just the card advantage. It just cannot be understated. There's a reason why this card is hit in Ancients. So with those handcuffs off, go for it and see why. Gandalarian is good for any kind of drag and drop, just because it's a unique character, so you're all going to start to one of it, but once it dies, it goes to the back and gives you a character in the 4th, 5th, 6th rank, whatever it is, by the time you already have it built. So of course you can't choose when he dies unless you kind of kill them with your own Amadasi's Wrath, but which could be an option there. But because of that, he gets noted. So I'll start with Amadasi's Wrath too. One of the best level 2. It's just, DC check. It had to be errated as well. It used to be just printed AC, but now it's actual AC. So, DC check. It's essentially a +3 range strike that ignores Astral and Otherreal. And being Planner itself is, just one of the best level 2 starters. We already talked about Skincrawler, but Archer Tower, handcuffed in Ancients, no more handcuffed. You can start this in play. So you could luckily, I'm not luckily, but fortunately you can't go like Amadasi's Wrath and get bonuses from that, but you could go like Caradron, who I don't even have listed here, and have a +10 to start if you really want to kill somebody. But Archer Tower's there for any kind of sniper. I just realized there was a Warlord that I do not have included here on Mercenaries, which is Tigran the Brave, which was a promo Warlord. So that's something you can do in Archer Tower. So I forgot to mention that. And of course, if you guys noticed any Warlords or cards that I'm missing from here, I worked off of the Saga spoiler list, so it could just be an issue with there. But Tigran the Brave as an option here as the range strike Warlord for Mercenaries could start Archer Tower. And also go Hawk Hatch. It's kind of like how I mentioned with Joel and you. And be a support Warlord with Charisma. So let me actually pull up Tigran the Brave just so we can get him on the stream. So he's a ranger. The Bounty Hunter trait is just there for flavor because it was the Bounty Hunter program promo. The Bounty Hunters were the tournament organizers that back then for AEG. But spend order, bow for a +7 range strike. That is language that was carried over from L5R because you bow a character instead of spending a character. So that's a proofreading issue. I remember a local player literally, no, you have to bow to do that. Well, that character's goofy, yuck, yuck. So there's a reason why you don't have to do that. But Charisma +16 is pretty cool. But yeah, this I would say Tigran is good to bad. Probably let's put him up in good just so we have at least 4 in Mercenaries, but definitely put him in there and start Archer Tower with him so that your strikes get super massive. and you just absolutely murder it. So, let's go. You're going to see me having to scroll through a whole bunch of slides because of this. This is what happens when you try that. All right, we're back. So we started with Archer Tower. We're going to look at Tyron Ruskin. Tyron Ruskin is 2 HP, 9 AC. If you're going to go with a front rank Warlord, him taking the wound is just huge. But he can also, if you really have an important character in rank 2 that you don't want dying, Tyron Ruskin can prevent that. Method is in here, 16 AC, and it's a wizard. Has the order to move forward or backward one rank. That's really it. Doesn't have a big strike or anything like that, but the high AC and the ability to still generate a strike if you want turn 1, or move up and cast a level 2 spell like Flame Arrows, is the reason why I have it listed here. It was a promo, a hard-to-get promo, so it wasn't very widely played back then, but it's still pretty good. And then Will-O-Wisp, the non-targetable ability, really makes this a solid rank 2. You can't have that rank sniped out if you have one of those Will-O-Wisp. So now we're moving to the last faction. As I look at I've already been talking for over an hour about this block. Just waiting till I had to do this for every single block. But let's look at Nothrogs. They have a lot going on here, but really only 3 Warlords that I would say constitute as good. And they, ironically, are their first 3. Krun, Uthenak, and Talth. So Krun, 6-man Krun, been an archetype that kind of set the standard for a lot of front-rank fighters. He's just massive strikes, massive additional wound. He runs to the front, he gets as many strikes as he can, and he kills your army fast. He is high risk, high reward in a bucket. But Krun's an OG. Krun will always be Krun. So the Lord of Araxton is to be respected, and that's why he's up there. Uthenak is your go-to cavalry warlord. Order, move a Nothrog forward or backward 1 rank. He could, if he has to, run to the front himself, and if not, he's moving other Nothrog characters that are worthwhile up to the front. He was great in CE. He was great in Open. So he's still up there. But I do think the best Nothrog warlord is probably Talth. Dominated the meta back in some of the early days when she was first released. She just gives massive bonuses to any of the spells and really makes her spells worthwhile. And just, they don't miss. You don't need to get that Archer Tower in order to have enough bonuses to hit. Chain Lightning is just so much better from her. Then on top of that, you're backing it with the blitziness of the Nothrog faction. She's got a lot going on. The Wizard Blitz deck next to Sanguinop should be Talth. I would put Talth in top 3, I'd say, Warlords in this format. Just because of the historical performance that she's had. She's never been bad. Looking at the bad options, a lot of these are pretty cool, and a lot of them are pretty good. Koltka is the same thing. You can do that you can either play the same role as Uthenak or play the same role as Krun, but again, you get a little bit less in exchange for card draw. But it's reckless card draw because you're losing the other cards you don't take to the discard pile. But the ability is still really good, and it is a barbarian, so that is why you would run Koltka if you need that barbarian trait. So definitely worth playing. Probably could be, you can make the case for him being a good warlord. I just felt more comfortable kind of putting him there. And then same thing for Gothak, just the Winter Warlord. We have the newer version here, but she was originally printed as a Winter Warfare promo Warlord. Innate ability with the Scout trait and can spend characters when you target them with their print. So any character that's level 5 or higher that gets targeted with her printed strike is just going to get spent. So that opens it up for Assassin's Arrows, which is huge. So for that ability, she definitely gets the nod here. She's certainly viable. Savrak is also a really cool warlord with a cool ability. Again, he's a wee warlord. Has a scout trait, but the defensive ability when being targeted to spend and move back a rank, it gets really cool when you start 3 Urg and 2 Uthnak's Tower, and you have like a super defensive start. But then that's the thing. You sacrifice his entire tech box in order to do that. He doesn't have, well, I have this awesome defensive ability, but then I also have my win condition in me. Like, he is not the win condition. He's kind of an engine. So because of that, he does miss a lot. Uthanac, on the other hand, can be that engine and also can be the winner. He can just go up and go. So just putting him in the middle of the pack for that. Micaiah is, again, he was the first of his kind when he got printed, where it's a level 5 multi-class. Like, oh my god! So there was a lot of having them start as level 4 really meant something back then. So the fact that he can kind of do this now, like, gave him some kind of bonuses. But I remember him having a lot of cool tools. I know somebody actually did well with Micaiah. I think it was Dow Foster did it in December Ancients. I didn't get to see the deck, though, so I don't know really what kind of coolness he had going on there. But I think there is something with Micaiah here. I just don't know what. So on the safe side, I put it in the bad. And Seth Warbringer, this is the Siege Warlord to play for Nothrogs. The ability, he's a Cavalry Warlord. He'll never really go in the front rank. He has the additional wound by Krun, but he has 2+2 strikes, which is a little weird being a fire giant and all. But the ability to ready a siege can get big. Non-stun siege, so that does hurt. But if you are going to go with a siege deck, he's the warlord to go with over Contal, who I have is ugly. So Contal saw some success in the good, the bad, and the ugly tournament, ironically enough. The ability to search for Trebuchet, put it into play, and then just one-shot a warlord for 3 wounds using Brel was great. But Brel isn't legal in this format, so that's why Contal just doesn't have it. Just the fact that it's a cleric is really good. So it is the only, as you can see, only Nothrog cleric. So the only one that would have access to Mass Blessing, but 2 HP. Makes it very vulnerable and could be sniped out. Luckily, you might have some healing. So Contal, I could be surprised, but for now, I think it's an ugly warlord. Regin, it's been a trap lord ever since I've seen it printed. When people always try to make it work, I always advise them not to. The ability, like, they think they're going to pull off something cool. It's kind of like, oh, like every time you do an action, I get a card. The thing is, like, that ability literally says, if your opponent is a good player, you lose. That is exactly what that says. So I'll start my hand with 5 cards. You start with 1. Then we go. You have your starting army. You have your warlord, which has 1 strike or whatever. And then you have the Nothrog starting army. Okay. Could be very frail or it could be super defensive, depending. We'll see those with starting armies. But you have 1 card in your hand. What I do with my first action is let me play a Shadow Reaver. Just drop a Shadow Reaver down in rank 4. Okay, I did an action. You get your card. You have 2 cards in hand. My next action is pass, discard my hand. That's it. So all I needed was to play a Shadow Reaver. Any of my mercenary woods, let's just say. At that point, it becomes the 2 cards that you drew from your hand versus my 1 Shadow Reaver. Shadow Reaver alone will destroy your entire army. Get it up to the front rank. Your warlord has 1 strike and will possibly hit it. And you have 2 cards a turn. Basically, what I'm getting at is, I look at my 5 cards. I decide which of the, how many cards I can possibly give you while playing just my best cards. So if I have 5 cards and, 2 are amazing, like if I have double Jackals, or like I have a Jackals and a Shadow Reaver, or a Jackals and a Tauren, or something like 3 or 4 or whatever it is, the highest impact cards, I will play and give you the chance of randomly drawing something useful. So Regin is absolutely terrible. I would never advise anybody ever playing it. I would say it's the worst warlord ever printed. And I truly mean that. Never run it. Prove me wrong. I dare you. Ragnar is just vanilla, has super traits. Nothing really going on here. All the different traits are cool, so gives you access to combining a lot of the subclass niche actions and items. So you could do some cool things there, but then that's it. That's really all you get there. Already talked about Contal. Venture Nin Gets really cool when you get to Ancients format and you're able to ignore loyalty penalty and do that. He is a Warlord, kind of like in the same vein of Uthenak, but again, just the splashing the out of faction abilities, just you lose a lot of synergy and other stuff. So he's pretty cool, but he's just he was never really great, never really shined. Same with Terror. Terror was always cool. Everybody loved it. It's like, oh my god, I can run a Beholder or a Terror. Can't say Beholder without getting sued by Dungeons and Dragons. Could play some Eye Stalk. So because of that, it was a fan favorite. But just the ability and the actual stats were just left a lot to be desired. So then finally, we go to the potential starters for Nothrox. First up, we have Grucht. Grucht was the starter for Talf. Being able to start, who's not even listed here, Dacket, and 3 Grucht and 2 Dacket in the back just made first action Flame Arrow was just absolutely devastating because you were having 2+8 range strikes that, absolutely, unless you're playing as Brine Fiend, they're going down. If you're playing a planner start, they're going down. So Grucht has that. He is a bit squishy himself, being 11 AC only, but that ability is huge. I don't have Dacket here because the level 2 gets replaced by Temwabam, who did get, I want to make sure that I was right on that, but I'm pretty sure Temwabam is on there. I was surprised to see it. Temwabam, whose name is an anagram for the evil midnight bomber who bombs at midnight, for a reference to the Tick. That is just a better Dacket because it has 12 AC and the ability to kind of move up to the front rank if you really want to, but also has essentially an innate +2 range strike with a little bit more flexibility. So that's why that's there and Dacket's off. Just run Temwabam. But yes, Temwabam came out in Southern Kingdoms. So, yeah, that's why before Tal's kind of reign, you never really saw Temwabam, but, or in the days of Grucht as a starter, I should say. Never really merged with Temwabam, but again, with Temwabam first action, +8 range strike at the front rank, which is pretty good. With an X Tower, well, actually, no, let's not. Let's stick to level 1s for now. Akvuk is on here as the glass cannon, +7, 9 AC, so all offense, no defense, and if you don't wound a target, it dies at the end of turn. Great starter for Krun. Great starter for Talf if you don't want to go the Grucht way. +7 is going to hit just about everything. So if you're not playing against a cleric, you're okay. You don't never want to see planner, but Akvuk was always a fan favorite here in the local meta in Jersey when we were playing. So I still love it now. It's definitely an option as a starter, but again, with the caveat, you could really pay for having him go away. Lasara is the safer bet because it's 12 AC with +2. So you don't go, +2 is still really good as a starter, but 12 AC is a lot safer too, but that's really it. So if you don't want to try anything gimmicky and you just want like a decent starter, like Lasara is there, but it's not good, it's not bad. So you're not going to get much out of it. Erg can kind of blend into just about any start you want. The ability to redirect or prevent any of these other characters. So if you want to go 2 Grucht and 1 Erg and put Erg right in the middle, you can do that. Triple Erg, like I mentioned with Savrak and Uthenax Tower, gets really cool because then you're protecting your Uthenax Towers and getting them together. And Tessanok is also just the generic if you want to hold the ranks, stay strong there, giving +1 AC to adjacent characters, but even then the -4 just isn't great. But because of its stats, it should be worth considering, I would say. So level 2s, this is where the Nothrox have a lot going on. I already mentioned Temwabam. Uthenax Tower is huge. Giving adjacent characters +5 AC and riposte could be super strong. When you get 2 of those Uthenax Towers right next to each other, it can be great. You need to see an Amadasi's Fire in order to kind of break that up, because otherwise you got to roll 20s on there. Ballista Crew is the super awesome aggression there. +3 that does 2 wounds. It eats Brine Fiends. And it's a siege. So if you are going to go with Seth Hellbringer, you can get another shot next turn instead of, so that stunning ability isn't great. It isn't hurtful, but Ballista Crew is good in a non-siege deck, just as a starter with Krun. Triple Akvuk, double Ballista Crew. This is pure aggression. Brawlig is there just for you can have it be an aggressive start with Uthanac. You can order it up, and then just as long as you have an Erg there, he can get 3 strikes potentially right off there. Like a gun, it's 2-2-1 or whatever it is, or 2-1-1 depending on how you hit. But he is very frail. But you can do cool stuff there. So definitely consider him there. I think I saw in the Good, Bad, the Ugly Sly Fox actually try and Brawlig with Suicidal Charge at a Contal. So then you can go Quick Strike and Quick Strength and like have some kind of just murder the front ranks, especially in a meta where, as you've seen now, you've now seen all the factions go through the starters. Some of these factions leave a lot to be desired. A lot of these level 1s are not what we're used to. So that could theoretically just completely win you a game. Just drawing those 2 cards together out of a Cleric like Contal. So definitely worth considering. Siege Engine Crew is there if you're going to run Seth, if you're going to run Contal, or you're going to run a Siege deck. Just start one of them. Be able to get a free movement out of there. That's just a really cool ability with decent stats. It's not offensive at all, but I wanted to note that as an option. Just if you are going to go that route, consider starting at least one of them. I don't think you need 2. You can go with the next Tower Siege Engine Crew, or Temwabam Siege Engine Crew, or Ballista Crew Siege Engine Crew, and be fine. And then Slave Labor is if you want to get a little bit more sturdiness of the Nuthanax Tower, because it is C2 HP. And that's really it. That is what we have kind of going in terms of each individual faction. So I would say, don't really. As I said in the beginning, I would still kind of give the reins to Belial as the favorite here, but it's weird kind of thinking back to what this format used to be and thinking how far we've kind of come from a card pool in Warlord. But I think right now we didn't go too deep into specific builds and specific decks. Like I didn't say Haviland, Benedict is the second best deck, Darmy is the top deck, Talth is the third deck, Belial is a great deck. Like I didn't really look into specific builds or specific Warlord, but I wanted to kind of give this primer just as you approach the card pool and you approach the full Warlord list. Like this is what you should kind of consider. Always start with the starting army. And always start with what Warlord you want to pick and then kind of build it up from there, just from the safe spot. Unless you have some super crazy combo that you have brewing in your mind based on that card pool, you can build like that. That's something that really hasn't been my strength as a player. So I don't really have a lot of those options in mind. I only really have the historical knowledge of being there and playing it. So that's why I remember like Benedict, Blood Oath, and things like that. Or Lord Winter, Excessus, Invincibility Potion. But other than things like that, like this should give you the good foundation for where you're in. And again, if there's anything you disagree, definitely let me know. I want to get a discussion kind of going with this, but I think, I don't think there has been like a massive discussion yet in the community. That could change depending if you're looking at this in the future. But as I'm recording this now, there really hasn't been a huge debate on what they think is the best. What is that? It's just, what does everybody kind of remember if you were even there for it? Again, it's a very old game. This is like, the early aughts, if you will. So long time. So memory is a little fuzzy even for me at my ripe old age. So either way, I wish you good luck. I hope you've enjoyed this analysis. I do plan to do more of these for each individual block as they come out. So January is Saga. February will be CE. Then I believe March is Epic. And then April is 4E. So those next block tournaments are really going to change the way we kind of approach these online events previously. So I'm really excited about it. Shout out to Woodrow for kind of coming up with this. Woodrow, Wes, Josh, all these other people. I don't even know who else might have been involved. Anybody and everything involved with kind of coming up with a theme for this. It is really cool to kind of take a look back at these historical blocks in the 20th anniversary of Warlord. So I hope you guys have fun with this. I hope you have fun brewing. I still have to kind of brew some decks here, and I'm really excited to go through it. But take a look at the starters. Take a look at the Warlords. Think about what you might want to play Think about what you played back then. Uh, just play something fun, whatever it is. Again, that's the most important thing. If we were playing for thousands of dollars or whatever it is, like the Magic Pro Tour, you can look at my analysis thing and just be like, well, this guy ain't going to make me money or whatever. But this is Warlord. We're playing for essentially nothing online. So the most important thing to remember is have fun. But if you want to be competitive, definitely kind of take a look at some of these analyses here. You can still be competitive and have fun. And I definitely encourage you guys to kind of find the nice marriage of both. But most importantly, have fun. So with that, I will bid you all adieu. Let me know. Feel free to post in Discord or wherever I'm kind of sharing this. I'm sharing this on Facebook. If you're watching this anywhere on Twitch, if you can kind of in my chat, just kind of add any kind of comments. Anything I missed, anything you completely disagree with, I want to hear it. Like, let's have this discussion as a community and let's all have fun talking about Warlord, the game we all love. So with that, thank you for viewing. Have a good one and best of luck in the January event. Look at that. Bonus coverage now. As you guys could now tell, obviously, that was a recording. Either that or I just did a very quick wardrobe change. Hopefully that was as smooth a transition as that. But I see a lot of you guys have been talking with you all in the chat just as we kind of go through this. So I obviously want to come on, be able to answer any kind of questions or add any kind of closing thoughts to this analysis. One of the questions that was asked in the chat is, will I be doing this for each of the individual blocks? Absolutely. As long as I have the time and I don't just get randomly hit with something that just completely takes away all my time, I absolutely will do it. This is challenging. And I know you guys are also kind of saying, it's like, thanks for taking the time to do this. Like, I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch as well. But it is really hard to kind of dive into these. Like, if you really weren't there, a lot of you guys kind of started either in campaign edition or some even started with 4E. Like, you weren't there to kind of remember it. So it's really, you don't even know where to kind of start. And as I've kind of said before, you really have to unlearn everything that you learned in Ancients. It's just not the same game. Not everything in your instincts is going to tell you just might be completely wrong. It might be completely right. And maybe like you might be ahead of the time, but you got to really kind of test that out. But one thing I did want to cover, and I am going to have to share a screen for this just because I already messed up. I forgot. Oh, look, I was looking up Burning Hands. How about that? There's a Warlord I forgot to cover. That'd be Dallin Stormlost for the devs. So I do apologize for leaving him off. If you guys noticed in the... sorry, I'm just kind of editing this as I kind of go. If you guys noticed in the first slide that I had with the Dev Warlords, there was a second card behind Modred of Caracas, and that was Dallin Stormlost. So when I posted all these images onto that slide, he just kind of hid back there. So you're going to get some bonus analysis here, tacking this on at the very end. So Dallin Stormlost, the first dev that came out for Campaign Edition in Southern Kingdoms. Not going to obviously read the cards, you can all just kind of read it on the screen. But the thing that I always remember about Dallin is looking at them and like, oh my god, he is so cool. He's got magic resistance. He's got healing. He's got 2 classes. He's got pretty good stats, a little less. And then he's the anti-Belial. And especially when, that was the big thing. Like, Belial was just completely dominating. This guy came and said, whatever you do, I'm going to undo it. And so, like, there was a lot of draw to that. Not to mention the art is pretty badass. So there was a lot of attention that went towards Dallin when he got released, but he never really hit. Like, he always was just kind of good and never great. So he never really had his time to shine. He always just, for one reason or another, would be competitive-ish and then just not win a tournament, not win an event. But there's a lot going on. So if I had to give an answer as to why he never really shined, I honestly don't even know. But it's really tough to say. And I apologize for my coughing wife in the background, but she's okay. Don't worry, everybody. So anyway, Dallin Stormlost, You know, I'm going to put him kind of in the middle. I'd say he's like in the bad section of the tiers. And again, remember, bad does not necessarily mean he is unplayable. Bad just means that, you know, it's the middle tier. Like he's kind of there. If he wins, you know, I'd be surprised if that one wins. But he very well could. So there's the extra bonus analysis. If you guys have any other questions, by all means, feel free to shoot it my way. You guys can always message me right on Discord at Nirvana Tool. Feel free to always comment here in the chats. Anytime I go with a stream, I'll absolutely be willing to kind of come on and just talk it out with you guys. We love talking Warlord. As I was saying, I want to repeat everything I just said in the video, so that's why I'm trying not to do that. But so because of that, I guess I will just kind of quit when I'm ahead. But feel free to hit me up, and good luck to you guys. I actually have to start building decks. I got to kind of figure out what to do. I just kind of did an analysis, but haven't actually done any of the hard work. But thanks for watching, guys. We'll be in touch. Take it easy. Bye.